Hey, hey, hey. I am Aziza Kibibi and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I want to talk a little bit about a question that I often get asked, and that is, what is it like to be the biological mother to your own brother and sisters? So let's just get right into it. But before we do, please make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video because it's all about getting these conversations started. All right, let's go. Okay, this intro calls for something serious, so let's go cursive. Aziza, never mind. A-Z-I-Z-A-K-I-B-I-B-I. Seriously though. So if you don't know me, I am a writer, I like to think of myself as a content creator and a multimedia personality. That is what I got my degrees, one of my degrees in when I went to university. I am a survivor of many years of sexual and physical abuse at the hands of my father. And I'm an activist. I'm very outspoken about the things that has happened to me. But above all of that, what I am first is a mom. If you are new here, I am a mother to my own brothers and sisters. Meaning, no, it's not that I was an adult and I had younger siblings that I raised on my own, so technically I am their mom. No, I am actually the biological mother of 4 of my siblings. For those of you who don't know or who may be new here, my father started molesting me when I was 8 and he started raping me at 10. I got pregnant with my first child by him when I was 15 years old, and over the years was pregnant 5 times and gave birth to 4 children. One of my children did pass away due to genetic difficulties because she was a result of 2 close family members who produced a child. And the other 3 I raised on my own primarily. Now I do have 5 children altogether. My youngest child, who is not a result of the incestuous abuse by my father, was for my ex-husband, who, after escaping my father, I fell in love, got married, and really tried to live that American fairy tale happily ever after dream. But that didn't quite work. Anyway, without going into the whole spiel about divorce and everything else, which I'll probably address if y'all want to know more about it in another video, I did get an amazing young man, little boy, who grew up to an amazing young man out of the situation. And along with him, yes, my other now living 3 children who are the products of incestuous abuse. Okay, so now that all of that's been clarified, people tend to ask me about my relationship with my children, considering that they are my biological brothers and sisters, as well as my offspring. I am their mom. They are my son and daughters. And what impact does the very intertwined, layered, complicated biological relationship have on our family relationship? And it tends to vary. One, I had my children young. And I think that anybody that has kids young, definitely, especially while they are still teenagers or children themselves, can attest to, if you do raise your child, that you grow up with them, essentially. So that primarily was the relationship between my children and myself. Because I grew up isolated, I didn't have friends, I didn't have access to doctors, teachers, anybody really on the outside world who my father did not have any form of control over, which essentially is what contributed to the fact that I had so many children by my father, because there was nobody to report to outside of my family. Yes, I know this question is going to come up, especially if you're new here. My mother knew. Yes, my mother knew. She knew about everything that was going on. She learned that my father was abusing me by the time I turned 10. So he was abusing me for about 2 years before she found out. And after she found out, she did not really question him or go against him, except for one time that he then in response beat her with a belt. So, continued to have children by my father through the abuse against my will, and finally escaping him at 24, I found myself in the world with no social skills, no access to resources, raising children on my own, 4 children at the time, because my daughter who passed away was still alive. Not only did I have children, but I also had children with special needs. So everything that came along with that in itself was extremely challenging. I mean, having anxiety, I think, is normal for most humans, especially we see it more as shyness, but the comfort levels that you have to achieve to talk to strangers and communicate with people outside of your immediate circle, I dealt with that issue on like level 1000 because I was afraid of the world, essentially. I was homeschooled, so I did not have an education, a traditional education. When it came to now having my children, having to be their mom, having to be a single mom, I was learning a lot about the world at the same time that they were growing. So here I was nurturing and raising entire human beings, some with more unique needs than others, but I was raising myself. I was learning the world. I was learning how to talk to people. I was learning how people responded to me depending on how I approached them. And I just had to jump out there and do what I needed to do in order to provide, support, and contribute to my children's lives. And trust me, it took a lot of leaps of faith. Now going more into my interpersonal relationships with my children. As I mentioned earlier, we grew up together. And I think that contributed to the strength and the foundation of our relationships as a family, because there was a lot that not only we were learning together, but there was a lot that they were teaching me. Sure, as their parent, as the head of the household, I was teaching them a lot. I was teaching them everything that I knew, and I was learning about being safe in public, open communication, and navigating the world from a social perspective. But they were also teaching me. There were many ways that I lived vicariously through them, especially through the school system. Because I was homeschooled, I hadn't sat in a classroom. I didn't have a teacher other than my parents. So having that school experience through them was exciting for me. And there were many ways that it brought us closer. So I chaperoned their school trips. I audited their classes. I mean, part of that was just because because I knew of the potential that humans have and how unsafe the world is for children who do not have parents that are actively in their lives. Yeah, I was involved with them as much as possible through their school and education experience. So I audited classes. I was in regular communications with their teachers. I went to PTO meetings and parent-teacher night, and that led to me being extremely involved in the things that they were interested in academically. And also it helped me to understand or shall I say, gain a perspective and an experience of being in school. Like it was, it was so fun for me to go to pep rallies and go on school trips because I didn't have that experience. Now, every now and then, my father would take us blueberry picking. We went to the Statue of Liberty. We went on road trips. Like he was very hands-on when it came to teaching us about nature and biology and things like that. And I learned before he cut off contact between me and my extended family, which included cousins my age, I learned through them that I was learning things about, let's say, technology and nature that they was not being taught in school. So we was actually, my brother and I was actually considerably further ahead in certain subjects than the cousins of in our same age group that we had. However, there was this whole other aspect about being in school that we were deprived of. So I experienced a lot of that through my children. Sure, I was their mom. When I went to the school, that's who I was. I was Arish's mom and I was Aloba's mom. But when it came to the interactions between my children and I, through their, let's say, their homework and their school projects, I was like a classmate to them because they would sit, I'd put them in the kitchen while I cooked dinner, and they did their homework. And I was extremely involved in them doing their homework. So, and just having that experience, something that I didn't get the chance to experience in my childhood, just made me excited. It really made me excited about that part of parenting. And it definitely bonded us. It brought us closer. Like, all of my kids have this gift with mathematics, including my youngest son, who is by my father. They all have a gift in mathematics. And my son Aloba, he got awards and he graded like the highest child in mathematics in the city of East Orange. He was recognized by the Board of Education. He was recognized by the Board of Education in Jersey. So, you know, that seemed to kind of echo with all of my children. And even now, my youngest son, Uriel, he is like a math whiz. He even tutors other students and he barely tries. Like, he's not even trying. It comes easy to him. So, and that was something that I had the gift of when I was young while being homeschooled. My father was teaching me algebra and calculus from a very young age. I was nowhere near a teenager. He actually stopped homeschooling by the time I became a teenager. So clearly that's something within us that kind of comes naturally, but it definitely was nurtured because I, as their parent, not having the experience in the public school system, was excited to experience it through them. Let's just say my relationship, the unique dynamic of our relationship, definitely has brought us closer. Communication is very open, which is something that I nurtured just because of my experience. You know, I encourage my children to talk to me about anything that goes on in their lives, and whenever something's bothering them, bothers them. And I also allow them to question me. I'm not perfect. I know that I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and I'm a work in progress. But the good thing is that I have progressed. And while, yes, when they challenge me, they try to act like, Mommy, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing about this. You don't know anything about this. But, you know, we tend to talk it through. We talk it through. They reach an understanding, and we're all enlightened and the better for it, and definitely closer. Yeah, our life has been crazy, and it's definitely a lot different than many other families and many other parent-child relationships. But in a lot of ways, it's very similar. It's very similar. I am their mom first. We recognize that, yes, we are also brother and sisters, but that's a topic that we discuss openly, honestly, and candidly. And I encourage other parents to have open, honest, candid discussions with their children, especially about the hard topics that happens within families. So that's what it's like. That's what it's like raising your own brothers and sisters, raising your children who are also your brothers and sisters. I hope you got some insight into this, especially as a parent, all the parents out there, how important open communication is in relationships, whether, you know, you have a crazy dynamic within your relationships, adopted, same-sex parents. Communication is very important through it all. I guess I'll catch you on the next video. Please continue to share, ask your questions, go down down in the comments, sound off, tell me what your input is, what your thoughts are. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video so that we can continue to have these important conversations, learn more about each other, and contribute to each other's lives. That is really the community that I am trying to create on my platforms. So on that note, be blessed, for you are a blessing. See you next time.